Okay, good afternoon, everybody, or an early morning or evening. I know we're expecting registrants from around the world today. If you are tuning in for some pre-Pride planning, you are in the right spot. We are going to give our participants just another minute or two to log in as we see the numbers tick up. And you're welcome to put your line on mute while we wait. But again, we will get started in just about 2 minutes. Okay, terrific. So thank you, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Dina Fidas, and I'm the Managing Director and Chief Program and Partnerships Officer here at Out and Equal. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome to the countdown begins. We are less than about a week and a half, 2 weeks from Pride launches around the world. This is your official Out and Equal pre-Pride planning call, getting your employee resource group ready for Pride. And so, as usual, we are recording these sessions. At any time, you are most welcome to reach out to us at hello@outandequal.org. Again, our general inbox that we answer every day is hello@outandequal.org. Also, throughout today's session, you're very welcome to use the chat box. We welcome your feedback, your stories, your examples, and most certainly your questions. And so first, we at Out and Equal, as everyone around the world, we have been grappling with how to navigate what Pride means to us in the current state of a global pandemic. Many of us reflected and thought to ourselves, you know, if you were to break down Pride and conveniently use P-R-I-D-E as your guidepost, what does it mean? What does it mean within our partner companies? So number one, the most important aspect of Pride, the people. The people who make up Pride, not just members of the LGBTQ plus community, but our allies and our would-be allies, those people who during the month of June may notice for the first time just how proud their employers are, may get to see some of their coworkers in a different light in the context of Pride celebrations and storytellings. So fundamentally, Pride is absolutely about the people. Number two, our community has honored Pride and honored the spirit of Pride in the context of some real moments of shared adversity, whether, you know, quote unquote, gay panic moments, a community that has faced disproportionate rates of violence and harassment, a community that was largely ignored during the early years of the AIDS crisis. We have always found a place to come together, to share our strength, share our pain, and share our hope together. And so we also name resilience as absolutely fundamental this year, and I think many of us are feeling it right now, needing to tap into that as we honor the month. Third, information. And I'll let you all in on a little secret, which is when I suggested this, my colleagues here at Out and Equal sort of laughed because they thought, oh, how dry, information. But what I meant by this is for so many of our companies, and particularly those of us who do workplace advocacy for the LGBT plus community day in and day out, I think it's actually easy for us to take for granted that our coworkers know what our companies, what our agencies have actually done for us. And I actually think this is a fantastic opportunity. Pull together those one-pagers, pull together those senior leader quotes that are informing not just the LGBT ERG. They don't necessarily need to hear this again and again, but most particularly, from headquarters to the plant floor, how your company is celebrating Pride, why your company is celebrating Pride, and what your company has done for the LGBT plus community. And that could include supporting the Equality Act. It could include instituting transgender inclusive healthcare coverage. There's a whole set of things that Pride Month really allows for an open door in terms of communicating out, not just internally, but to your customers and clients as well. Number 4, and I'm particularly excited because I know some of my coworkers will riff on this even more, it's absolutely important to center our Pride festivities and honor the diversity of our community. It is, and this call is a celebratory call, and it is also a call for accountability. And accountability in the form of asking ourselves, everything from, are we putting out images of predominantly cis, white, gay and lesbian people when we honor Pride Month, or are we acknowledging Black and Brown voices? Are we giving light and giving platforms to queer stories, non-binary, trans, intersex, and so on? And so absolutely remember the diversity of our community. And lastly, expression. Many of us, for Pride, this may be the one time a year you wear a boa, or it may be one of many times a year in which you wear a boa. We are admittedly a little bit more constrained, or you could say we need to get a little bit more creative in how we express ourselves this Pride Month. I have found myself feeling particularly proud of my new Out and Equal background. So there are a lot of ways that all of us, both as individuals, but also as companies, can express ourselves, express our values of Pride, and continue that momentum. So let's get a little further into what exactly we're going to cover today. The welcome from me, of course. The second component is the resource that we released just a couple of weeks ago called Pride Out of the Box. It's an employee resource guide to celebrating Pride virtually, so taking into account our current environment. We also want to dig in and share stories and ideas for how you all are celebrating Pride. How you wish you could celebrate Pride. Really, the virtual floor is open. And we're also going to hear from some of the Out and Equal team about how you can really take this moment, take this month to build community. And then, of course, throughout the session, and certainly for that block at the end, we'll have questions and a rich discussion. And so you will be hearing from Madeline Jelpy, our Senior Manager of Stakeholder Engagement, Madeline Peru, our Senior Associate of Communications, Madeline G and Madeline P, as they're often referenced in our office, had created the Pride Out of the Box resource. And lastly, you'll be hearing from our esteemed colleague, Isabel Porres, our Director of Learning and Development, who we're so fortunate to have on this call. And I know many of you have some specific questions for her as you all are looking at enhancing your plans for Pride Month. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton to Madeline G, and I'll return closer to the end of the call. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all here. Thanks so much, Dina, for that wonderful intro. And I hope you all are feeling some good Pride energy as we gear up for June, which is pretty soon. I don't know actually the exact number of days we have, but it feels like it's just around the corner. As Dina mentioned, my name is Madeline Jelpy. I'm the Senior Manager of Stakeholder Engagement here at Out and Equal. Pronouns, anything respectful is fine. And I'm just really happy to see so many of you on the call. This is going to be a unique approach to our Pride celebration this year, and one that I hope we can all embrace together and do some really cool stuff with. So perhaps some of you were on our last call when we unveiled our resource, Pride Out of the Box, an ERG guide to celebrating Pride virtually. We did a bit of a high-level overview to start giving you all some ideas on how to reorient your Pride plans this year, some ideas you may think about engaging in the month of June. Overall, this resource, we really wanted to provide a set of tools, ideas, engagement points for you and your ERGs and for your leaders to utilize in really building those important virtual Pride engagements this year. So we hope through this resource that you can get sort of a comprehensive means of executing these strategies, keeping people informed, touching base on those key tenets of Pride that Dina mentioned earlier today. We'll actually post the link to download the resource in the chat box shortly. We do encourage you to share this with your ERG members, your ERG leaders, encourage them to get involved. There's lots to do. And on today's call, you'll have opportunities to ask questions to us about the resource and also hear from your peers about what they're doing in the month of June and how they're celebrating. So to kick us off, I'd love to hear from all of you in the chat box. How are you feeling about Pride plans for this year? Go ahead and let us know in the chat box, and I'll start checking out some of those now. I'm going to wait for some to come in. Excited, 2 excited, 3 excited. This is 4. Y'all, creative words here. Love the excitement. Proud, frustrated, understandable. It's stressful. Very excited, proud, unclear. Hopefully we can clear some of that up on this call. Overwhelmed, cabin fever. I hear you. Worried there won't be equal excitement from my straight peers. Hopefully we're going to talk about some ways we can get people pumped. Nervous, and so much excitement I'm seeing come in here. Cautious, anxious but ready. I think that's definitely sort of describes how I feel about it, at least. I'm ready. Anxious to get started. Great, thanks for chatting those in, everyone. We're going to have some additional ways to engage in the call today, and excited to hear more from you as we go along. So let's go on to the next slide. I'll start just reviewing some of the things we talked about in our resource, just reminding you of some ways that you can get engaged. There are a number of ways in the resource you can get engaged with Out and Equal. We've built sort of a number of Pride-focused virtual offerings that we invite you and your company to attend. And our very first one is on June 1st, where our CEO, Erin Uritis, is going to kick us off to the month of June. We'll all be in a wonderful virtual town hall together. We'll discuss, why it's important now more than ever to continue to rally for our community, to continue to celebrate and elevate our voices, and to keep fighting for our community and for, recognition and expression. So this is going to be a great opportunity for you and your ERG members to attend, watch together virtually, wear your favorite Pride flag. I know I'm going to be wearing something fun, and it can definitely serve as sort of a great touchstone for you and your group to jump into Pride together. Next, in addition to our Pride kickoff, we have brunch, Pride Brunch with Out and Equal. Brunch is a very important part of Pride. It is, especially with me and my friends. Food is important and good times as well. And we want you to be a part of that with Out and Equal. Join us in our shared celebration of Pride during your lunch break at work. Join us on Zoom with your favorite drink or snack. We're going to be doing some fun things. We'll be using this time to, again, continue to build that excitement, share stories of belonging and pride in the workplace, and really getting at the heart of what this month means to so many of us, and how we can bring that into the workplace with us, but also in our home workplaces. So come prepared to share and reach out to us at stories at Out and Equal if you have a particular story in mind you'd like to share on that call. we'll be posting that, email address in our chat box. Next, in the interest of continued partnership, our CEO, Erin Uritis, and our Managing Director, Dina Fidas, who you just heard from, is going to be conducting some virtual visits to workplaces throughout June and can talk on a number of different topics. So we would love to come to you. We'd love to come see you virtually, talk about the importance of Pride, and more importantly, building those key cultures of belonging in the workplace, especially at this time. And then this is a really fun one. The next one within the toolkit, we have a number of ways that you can express your pride throughout the workday. Pride Month is a really great opportunity, first of all, to, hey, update your email signature. Let folks know you're an LGBTQ ally. We just had a wonderful webinar on this yesterday. There are many ways to express pride. One of the ways that we can express pride is by, adding pronouns and showing people that perhaps you're an ally. So we provide an example of how to do this in the resource, and we hope you continue to do that after Pride is over. And then we have a few other fun things within here. So we have several Pride-themed backgrounds. You can see mine right here. Wonderful trans flag. Pride is never canceled. And then if you go to our website, you can see a number of different other backgrounds that you can use. And I believe a few of my colleagues have some up on their backgrounds as well that you'll see them demonstrate in just a moment. We also offer the ability to update your profile picture on LinkedIn and other social media platforms to keep celebrating Pride throughout the month. So you'll be able to download all of these in our toolkit and on our website at outandequal.org. And we hope you start using these and feel excited about the ways you can express your pride. I'm now going to pass it on over to the other Madeline at Out and Equal, who's going to review the other different resources, the other activities that are contained within the resource that you can check out. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Madeline. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Madeline. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's call. I am the other Madeline, also known as Madeline Pro, and I use she, her pronouns. Unfortunately, I don't have a Zoom background. I can't figure out how to get it to work on my computer. As my colleagues know, I've spent many hours trying to figure it out, but hopefully by the June 1st call, I'll have my background all set. So I'm so excited to chat with you all today about some ways that your ERGs can celebrate Pride this year virtually. We are happy to answer any questions we've mentioned a couple of times at the end of the call, so please keep chatting in your questions and any thoughts and feelings or anything you want to share, and we will get to those at the end of the call. So let's go ahead and get started. Go to the next slide. One way to celebrate Pride Month virtually with your ERG is to host both a Pride kickoff and a Pride wrap-up meeting. A kickoff call towards the beginning of the month, so in the next couple of weeks, is a great way to get your ERG members and LGBTQ colleagues excited about the upcoming Pride Month. So you can even invite speakers from a local organization, nonprofits. We are doing a couple of offerings with Out and Equal, and or executive champion at your company to get everyone excited about the month. This is also a helpful way to review the calendar of events and start gathering participation for the planned activities. So we want to see you all doing this. We want to see you all doing every activity over Pride Month. So please take screenshots, take photos of yourself, and tag us on social media at Out and Equal, and we want to see how you all are doing all of these activities. At the end of the month, you can also host a Pride wrap-up meeting to reflect on the month with your members. And this gives members a chance to debrief, to continue the celebration, to talk about what worked and what didn't work, and just come together one last time during Pride Month. If you want to go ahead and let us know in the chat box, we're going to keep going. But if your ERG is planning to do something like this, go ahead and let us know. And if you have any questions, we're happy to get to those at the end. Go into the next slide. Another activity for your ERG to participate in this Pride Month is an LGBTQ book or movie club. So this is a great idea if you are looking for activities to do to celebrate LGBTQ history or pop culture or any new movies and shows and books that are coming out that you all wanted to read anyway. This is the great chance to do that with your LGBTQ ERG. So you can break off into smaller groups or try to participate as a whole group. You can vote on queer books or movies that your group will watch and come back together to discuss in a few weeks. Our team at Out and Equal has compiled a list of books and movies for you all that we can put in the chat box in just a moment that are some ideas to get you all started. But before we move on to the next activity, we want to know what queer books, movies, shows, any sort of pop culture or literature that you all are reading right now or consuming right now. We want to know, and if you want to go ahead and chat that in, we can read some out. Oh, someone's watching We're Here. I just recommended that to the other Madeline the other day. The new Netflix documentary is Secret Love. That is a good one. Katie and Cassidy book. There's a lot on Apple TV Plus, Intersection on Amazon, The Half of It on Netflix. Yeah, Pose, that's a great one. These are all great. I hope you all can see some of these coming in and we can add these to our list. This is great. Schitt's Creek. Yeah, these are great. So you can see that people are already engaging with all this content. And so if you can come together as a group and discuss different books or movies or shows, it's a great way to get engaged during Pride Month. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. Pride Month is also the perfect time to get to know your fellow ERG members. So we've also compiled a list of conversation starters, which you can see on the screen, and this is also included in the resource for you all to use to break out into smaller groups to get to know each other on a deeper level. So we're all looking for connection right now and ways to connect in this virtual environment. So hopefully these starters can lead to some amazing conversations. This exercise is a great way to get to know each other. For new members, I'm sure a lot of people are joining your ERG virtually if it's easy to pop into meetings or during Pride Month. And so this is a great way to get to know those new members or get to know each other on a deeper level. So let's go ahead and try one now. You'll see if you have your screen, you can see it's kind of hard to see that it's bolded. So let's go ahead and try one in the chat box. So we want to know, do you have an LGBTQ hero or role model in your life, whether that's from a show or a movie or book, or somebody that you have in your life, a mentor, a friend that you wanted to share? We can use the chat function and share a few responses as they come in. And we also want to know, what have you learned from these heroes or role models that would be valuable for the group to know? Oh, someone said Ellen DeGeneres. That's a classic one. Anderson Cooper. Oh, Ellen DeGeneres again. Bob the Drag Queen. Inspiring entertainers, Harvey Milk. Someone's former pastor. Someone said, my daughter, seeing her strength every day from being non-binary and bisexual and not letting people's harsh words affect her. Andy Cohen. Yeah, these are great. So see, this is already getting the conversation going and seeing so many different interesting answers. And so if you use this in your LGBTQ ERG, it's a great way to get to know each other. Let's read a couple more before we move on. Someone from my high school, he lived out and proud. My peer, Matt, who is transitioning in the workplace, so brave. Mayor Pete, Megan Rapinoe, Laverne Cox, these are great. Thank you all so much for sharing. So keep on chatting those in, and we hope that you can use the resource to use these questions to do some of these conversation starters in your ERG. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So here are a few other programming ideas for your ERG. One fun activity is for your ERG to organize a virtual talent show. So Pride Month is all about embracing who you are, and I'm sure you all know this and are excited to truly embrace your true selves this month. And what better way to do this than to show your unique talents and the talents of those around you. So ERGs can host a virtual talent show to encourage people to come and bring their full selves in the ERG. So the way to do this would be to encourage members to sign up and perform special talents for their peers. It's important to welcome all talents, both big and small, silly or serious, and just have fun. Let us know in the chat box if this is something that you all are planning to do, or if it sounds exciting. And if you have any questions about logistics, we're happy to help you out. But after the event, we would love to see pictures, videos, anything that you all have. We'd be happy to see that afterwards. So reach out to us at hello@outandequal.org or tag us on social media. One of my favorite ideas for Pride Month is to host a virtual trivia night. And we actually did this a few weeks ago at Out and Equal. That was a huge success. So this is a great way to get your members engaged and have fun. You can test your members on their LGBTQ pop culture knowledge, history, movies, books, and more. We recommend using a virtual platform like Zoom. So you could have 1 or 2 people facilitating the meeting to share their screen with the questions and then break up the rest of the members into different groups. You can divide, or you can compete for Pride-themed prizes or just bragging rights. We use an online tool called Trivia Maker, and there's many other online tools if you all want to share them in the chat box. If you've done this or if you have any tips for anyone else, but we're happy to answer any questions about how to do a trivia with your ERG. Another fun idea for Pride Month is to have a Show Your Pride Day. This is when everyone should wear their favorite Pride outfit, their costumes, their boas, their glitter, their rainbows, or just your company's Pride t-shirts and Pride swag. This is a fun way to also have a little competition in your ERG for who has the most over-the-top Pride outfit. So the way to do this would be to schedule a virtual meeting and take a photo or a screenshot of all the amazing outfits. We want to see it, so tag us, and you can have someone judge who has the most over-the-top Pride outfit. So please tag us in your photos if your ERG decides to do a Show Your Pride Day. I think we're definitely going to do one here at Out and Equal, so we'll be sure to share that with you all as well. The final idea we have on this slide is this is a great opportunity to implement cross-ERG programming with other groups at your company. As we all know, LGBTQ people represent a multitude of identities, and this is a chance for your ERG to prioritize and elevate intersectional identities within the LGBTQ community. So for example, you could reach out to your company's people of color ERG, Asian Pacific Islander, women, whatever other ERGs your company has. This is a great way to do maybe some of these fun ideas with another ERG or something a little more serious for Pride Month. But this is a great way to elevate different voices in all of your activities, support other ERGs in the company, and even recruit new members. So we can go to the next slide. So our team, if you all have seen the resource, if not, we'll be sure to put it in the chat box again. We have put together a calendar template to provide a sample itinerary for ERGs to use during this virtual Pride Month. And we're happy for you all to adapt the calendar to make it work for your own LGBTQ ERG. Pick out what works for you, incorporate some of your own ideas, and we hope that it's just something to get you all started in your ERG planning this year. I know it's a little different, and some people, we said at the beginning, were anxious, don't know where to start. So hopefully this calendar can get you all started in your fun activities. And please do reach out to us on social media, email us, tag us, and we want to see all of the exciting activities that you all do. So we can go to the next slide and check out the calendar together now. Might be a little hard to see for some of you, so it is included in the resource, and you can download it, add your own activities, and make it work for you. We hope that these ideas are helpful as we enter into this year's virtual Pride Month. Please let us know if you have any questions about any of the activities, or if you have an activity that we haven't thought of, please include it in the chat. We want to know what you all are doing, and it only helps everyone on the call and us learn what other companies are doing. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat box, and we'll get to those in a little bit. But thank you all so much for joining the call, and I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Isabel to lead a community discussion.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I was taking a second here to read through the chat. So very excited to, I guess, have you hear me, because I can't see your faces, but I will hear some of your voices very soon. So fair warning, I have my double screen set up at home. So I'm looking at the chats over here. So I'm not distracted if I'm not looking on the camera. I'm looking at what folks are saying. But we now want to turn and share a little bit about what's happening in the chat, and hopefully unmute some folks to talk a little bit about some of what they have as well. So if we could go to the next slide. we want to know your thoughts. So one more slide after that. So share your thoughts as you're doing on the chat, but we also have the opportunity to unmute a couple of people. So I'm going to direct your attention right now, I believe, to the participants icon on the bottom. When you click on that, it should show up a whole list of everyone that's on there. And if you want us to unmute you, if you have an answer for this, please raise your hand. That way we'll be able to select a few folks to unmute. So I'm coming up and checking. Right now I see Ross, your hand is up, and that's perfect because I was going to ask the first question for you. I've been taking some notes on some of the things that are coming down the chat. And I think one of the things that we heard in the chat was from Ross about a color war competition. So I'm curious about that. I saw at least 5 comments of people asking us a little bit about that. So can we unmute Ross and hear a little bit more about that?
Hello, can you hear me? Perfect, awesome. So this is something we've done in the past while we've been in the office, but obviously we're switching to virtual. We do something called a color war. So we split our entire company up into 6 teams: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And we do check-ins throughout the month, but basically their goal is to donate to the Ali Forney Center, which is our kind of chosen Pride charity and organization. So they are able to donate whatever they can, whether it's $1, $5, $20. If they want to fundraise on their own and donate, you know, $100 or $200, they just have to send in their receipts and it'll count towards their team's total. So we do check-ins throughout the month every week. And then at the end of the month, the team color that raised the most money or donated the most money to the Ali Forney Center wins. Usually they win a little like pizza party lunch. So we're still working on what they're going to win exactly. But right now we're just kind of excited to be able to inspire everyone to donate to an organization that we hold really near and dear. So we're also excited to see how creative people can get with their dressing up. Every Thursday we do like a company-wide all hands meeting. And so we're going to challenge people to submit pictures every Thursday of them in their team's color.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Ross. And we look forward to hearing the results of that program. And Ross, I'll ask you, kind of put you on the spot there, but if folks have additional sort of questions about running this program, might they be able to reach out to you, or might you be able to kind of summarize a little bit more about that and share it with us so we don't have a bunch of people emailing you that way? But I'll just ask if you can share a little bit of the nuances of how this program is running. We will share that out when we compile this information in a blog post with the deck and the recording and everything to circulate for folks. So just kind of assigning you homework on that end.
Yeah.
But really thank you so much for sharing with that. I'm seeing a couple of other things coming up in the chat as well. So curious, is there anybody else who wants to share a little bit about what they have going on for Pride that you're excited about? I see Bobby with your hand raised. So we'll go Bobby and then Adam. I'm gonna go back on muting myself.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So I'm here with Chase in Colorado, and we're pretty excited. We've got an idea that we're going to implement here soon. Since all of the branches out here, obviously we got social distancing, a lot of the branches have closed and we really can't get together. We're planning on building a quilt here soon. We're going to be sending pieces of this quilt out to the branches for the members of the ERG here, and also hopefully new members to be able to sign this portion of the quilt, send it back, and we're going to assemble it. It's going to have the Chase logo on it, but in the background we are going to have the rainbow, and hopefully we're going to have these signatures from all across the state, so we can kind of show that building of community coming together without us being able to physically come together just yet. And then obviously when we have our first Pride event, we're going to have it hanging up, displayed. We're super excited about it.
That sounds amazing. That sounds very, very interesting. And especially with the meaning the quilt holds in our community, I think that's an especially poignant way of kind of bringing everyone together and having something literal right at the end of that. So thank you for sharing that. Adam,
Yeah,
I believe
absolutely.
also Thank you, Bobby. And Adam, I believe also.
All right, I'm live.
Yes, you are.
All right, great. So I run GM Plus, which is the General Motors ERG for LGBTQ and allied employees. A couple of months ago, they did what's called a blue table video. They had 4 leaders sitting around talking about a topic. We're going to do 2 of those during Pride Month. One at the kind of vice president, executive director level, and one at the working level, talking about what does Pride mean to them, how do you create an inclusive culture, and we'll be including a mix of both LGBTQ and allied individuals at both tables. We're working to get rainbow flags flying at every General Motors facility globally for at least a week, hopefully a month. Canada's actually offered to fly the transgender flag, alternating with a rainbow flag, and of course we'll get photos of that as well. We'll be doing articles on our intranet on what it means to be an ally. We'll have a guest writer for that, and also explain what the rainbow flag means, because we suspect a lot of our employees don't understand that. And we're also going to bring in PFLAG for 2 training sessions, one on understanding non-binary from a gender standpoint, and the other targeted at how to be a good ally. So kind of a broad-based multimedia approach.
I like that broad-based multimedia approach, absolutely, and working. And there's also that global component as well. So I want to turn now to, thank you, Adam, for sharing that. I want to turn this question a little bit more with a global lens to the audience. I know that there's a number of folks in here from sites outside of the United States as well. So just encouraging any of you outside of the United States or planning for Pride celebrations for your organizations outside of the US to raise your hands and maybe share a little bit about what is happening in your communities as well. Just checking over here. Part of me feels like I should have turned off my camera since I'm going back and forth. So any other comments that folks have for this particular question? If not, the sort of second question was connected. I think we've addressed this. If we go to the next slide on what you're particularly excited about. So I think the examples that we heard here are certainly particularly helpful. And I'm seeing on the chat, folks asking, can we share chat notes? Absolutely. And as I said, we're going to compile all of the resources. Some of you don't want to talk and are sharing via text. That's absolutely fine. So we'll be circulating all of this in a sort of cohesive way after the fact. I'm seeing folks asking things around flying pride flags internationally. So very curious if there are folks on there who can kind of jump into that question. Let's move on to the third question, I believe, on our category here. So let's now get a little bit more into suggestions. So do you have suggestions for other ERGs looking to engage in Pride Month? And if so, what are they? And turning back to my teaching roots, I took some notes and want to gently encourage a few of you. So I'll just say a couple of things that came down in the chat when we were talking earlier. Jessica, you mentioned doing cross ERG programming, especially with connecting with a bi-weekly event that is already existing. Neil, you mentioned connecting with the Black professional organization around ally engagement. And Patty, you mentioned partnering with the Latinx group around Pride and Pulse. So I just kind of want to ping all 3 of you, Jessica, Neil, and Patty, to get back in the fold and hopefully raise your hands and share a little bit if you're still on the line about these. Same thing, anybody else who didn't chat in but has some suggestions for other ERGs. So I see right now Patty and then Neil. And same thing, if you have suggestions for ways to engage with other ERGs, raise your hand and we will be unmuting you. So Patty, let's turn it over to you first.
Hi, I just wanted to let you know that since we had the incident in Orlando with the Pulse nightclub, my company has done what we've called 49 acts of loving kindness, which meant that we would go out to local firefighters and policemen because one of the victims' family had requested that we thank first responders for their support. This year, since we can't do that because of the social distancing, we have developed a dual language card in Spanish because one of the other victims' family had requested that they teach English to their children that don't know it. So we've developed a card that has 49 phrases that are useful in the construction arena or in everyday life. I work for a construction company, and that just is active, caring type statements that you can help to teach somebody who doesn't know English. And that's basically it.
That's plenty, Patty. I just turned off my camera to kind of really listen and absorb. And for folks on the line who might not be aware, Patty, I'm assuming your organization obviously is based in the Orlando area.
Actually, no, we're New York based, but we have offices all over the country.
That makes it even more powerful then. Can you share a little bit for folks then sort of how that connection with Pulse specifically? And I know you mentioned, you know, the kind of lessons around the 49, but I think this is particularly important for folks on the call. There's these local and community connections, and how we define community doesn't always have to be in the local geographic region, right?
Right, so one of my counterparts out of our Orlando office took a big lead in getting this started with the acts of love and kindness. And she has reached out to, we have a fairly robust ERG network that's developed over the last couple of years that covered different, you know, Mosaic. It's basically Mosaic. And it's just been very helpful to have these calls, especially over the last couple of weeks. We've been doing a lot of these virtual calls and trying to collaborate to come up with ideas. And so today I said, well, I'm going to hop on this call and see if I can get any great ideas for us to celebrate Pride Month. So I don't know if that answered your question. I hope it did.
I think it does, and thank you for sharing that, because now that gives folks on the call, you know, additional ideas for ways to connect. So thank you very much, Patty. And I want to turn it to Neil, and I see that Jessica is also raising her hand. So we'll go Neil, and then Jessica to talk a little bit more about this cross ERG collaboration.
Cool. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Hey, yeah. So Neil Harper from Barclays Bank US. Yeah, we've got a really exciting month planned ahead of us. We're kind of calling it Barclays Pride Month. Loads of stuff going on. We are certainly going to be attending a number of the Out and Equal sessions. But one of the things that we're really proud of is our intersectionality events that we're hosting throughout the month. So we've kind of looked at what we can do and how does that work with our broader diversity council and network. So we're hosting ally training, which we partner with our Black Professionals Forum. Just because we've identified there's a lot of synergies between the LGBTQ community and the need for allyship along with our Black Professionals Forum. Particularly we are, our corporate head office is in Wilmington, Delaware, which has a high population of people of color. And then we're also very close to Philadelphia, and there's been a number of instances with transgender, Black transgender people, and we wanted to really kind of share what we know and what we can learn, and how can our colleagues and network members really stand up and show their support as an ally. What does it mean to be an ally? So we've got that, and then another one that we're really proud of is we're actually doing what was going to be a face-to-face guest speaker. We've completely rotated it to a virtual event with people attending from both the East and the West Coast. We've got some of our colleagues from London as well joining, but with a really special guest speaker who is Richie Jackson, a Broadway and TV producer. He's got a book out that he's just launched. He's a parent. Him and his husband have 2 sons, and one of those sons has just come out as gay. So we've partnered that with our Working Families Network to sort of say, hey, look, we have the LGBTQ community here. We are also families. We're also parents. We've got the same challenges. We've been through these experiences. We have a father here who has been through the journey of their son coming out as gay to them. We really want to connect that. So there's just a small number of things that we're planning for the month, all culminating with Pride Day, which is wear your pride stuff. We're trying to get out what we would have had at the Pride parades to our colleagues. So we can't walk in a parade and be handing things out and wearing our t-shirts with Pride, but we want to get that to our colleagues and say, hey, sit there and do your video conferences and then join us at the end of the day for a happy hour.
I love that, Neil. Thank you so much. And so I think the examples your organization are really highlighting the true intersectionality in our community, right? We're not just LGBTQ. Some of us are parents. We're not just LGBTQ. We, you know, our racial identity and our ethnic identity also play a role in that. And so really connecting with the other ERGs, I think is very powerful. Thank you, Neil. And final question or comment on this question, excuse me, comes from Jessica. So Jessica, I will turn it over to you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So my name is Jessica and I'm from Dow Chemical from our site in Pennsylvania, Collegeville specifically. And we're actually partnering with our new employee resource group called RISE. So they've been doing a bi-weekly lunch called #AloneTogether. So everyone can basically meet to eat lunch together, or if you don't want to eat in front of a camera, like just drink water or something. And then they do different, you know, fun activities, different games. And then whoever wins gets like a $10 lunch ticket for when we eventually all come back on site and our cafeterias reopen. So I actually reached out to two of the people organizing it because I know them as colleagues as well. And they were completely open to making both of their lunches Pride themed for the month of June. So now we get to come up with different games and activities, maybe do some trivia as well for these Alone Together lunches that then touch everyone within our site.
Alone Together lunches. I love that. Thank you, Jessica. That's a really, really great idea. And especially around combating loneliness, right? Especially as we're all working from home. Many of us are working from home in this time to be able to kind of have those connections with your colleagues and across ERG. So I think that's an excellent example. Just being mindful of time, and I want to allow for time for Q&A at the end of any additional questions you may have for us now, just to turn to the next question, the next slide here. One question that you have for peers on today's call. So again, I will sort of kick it off by some of the questions and comments I saw down in the bottom. So one question I saw was Linda asked about Pride movie nights and who's doing Pride movie nights and kind of what, you know, what examples have you got going on? Is there someone on the line who has coordinated an upcoming or a past Pride movie night that has some great ideas that might be willing to share with Linda and any others on the call? Jude, I see your hand is raised. I'm hoping it's in response to this question. I guess we're going to find out in a second because we're about to unmute you. Jude, are you there?
Yes, hi. I've been running since the beginning of the lockdown a movie club every week. We run it globally, and basically we found out that other ERG groups in our company were having Zoom meetings, but we didn't want to just have a Zoom meeting because we thought that people would just talk about being locked away. So we wanted to give people something positive to talk about. One of the hugest challenges we've had is finding material that can be viewed globally, that can also be free, that has a positive note on it as well. We have tended to watch a lot more documentaries for that reason, because they tend to be educational, which can be positive. Yeah, there's a lot of LGBTQ plus type movies which are quite negative or dramatic, if you will. So finding more positive things that also stimulate discussion has been one of the challenges.
So that is a good point, Jude. And I see one of the questions coming in, Patty asks, you know, do you have a list of movies, potential questions to start the conversation? So if you have those, you know, please share with us. Patty, and for other folks on the call as well, as Madeline Peru mentioned, we also have a list of suggested films and other sort of cultural items, you know, books, movies, books, podcasts, audio recordings, that type of thing that might be of use to you as well. So thank you, Jude. Any other comments or questions coming in? I'm seeing folks asking, looking for ways to do things virtually. Is anybody, Cindy asks, is anyone getting pushback for the duration and or frequency of their events? And so I know we're hearing from folks on one end, struggling to kind of flesh out a calendar, which hopefully our resources are helping you do that a little bit more easily. But then on the other end, some folks sort of suffering from, Zoom or other meeting fatigue, especially in the context of our work from home environment for many of us now. So curious to kind of echoing Cindy's question here, is anyone on the call kind of getting pushback or about the duration or frequency of their events? And I'm seeing some folks mentioning with the federal government in particular, right, there's always a tension. Madeline Jelpy has helpfully linked our resources around films and books for your reference. And Jude has also included the list in there as well. So I see some answers coming in. One final question I'll throw out that I saw Brian mention, and I'm curious about the answer as well. Does anybody have any ideas for a virtual human pride flag photo? So curious what a human pride flag photo looks like. I'm imagining one of these, Zoom screens with lots of different colors, or, having some of the sort of color filters on top. But does anybody on the call have experience with something like that, creating a virtual human pride flag photo? Or I would extend your question a little bit, Brian, here, any other sort of virtual kind of art creation that happens. And so I'm seeing people chat in body painting. Adam is clarifying that the human pride flag would have each person wearing a different color of the rainbow. I was along with Ricardo on the kind of body painting mode, so I was thinking paint your whole face. And John mentions that Xerox has done photo mosaics as well. So I think that is an excellent question. Another question that we're seeing come up, and we'd like to turn over to folks here as well. Do you have any good sources for Q&A for a Pride themed trivia night? That was something that we've seen a couple of folks mention, the excitement to do with trivia. So any comments or suggestions there? I will be looking at the chat for that. And just to kind of, before we turn it around to Q&A without an equal, just highlighting for folks, as again, I see some of those comments coming in. We are not going to be terrible and just post this chat up, because there's tons of things to go through. We're going to kind of take this back, digest it a little bit, and draw out the lessons that and resources that folks are sharing from that chat, and kind of have it in a more narrative blog post for you to share and to post on LinkedIn. I saw a couple of folks mentioning LinkedIn in particular as well. So still watching the chat come in if anybody has suggestions on that human pride flag. I also see some additional resources and suggested links for where to find movies coming in. So want to thank everybody for kind of sharing your resources. That's the spirit of pride and community, right? Kind of disseminating knowledge across everyone. So I'd like to turn it back over to, I believe, Madeline, and we'll find out which Madeline in a second, to go through a little bit more of our Q&A here.
Sure, and we can just go to the next slide. Can everyone hear me okay? I think that's a yes. If you all have questions for us today, we want to provide the next couple of minutes here for you to ask any additional things you might be thinking about. Your Out and Equal team is here to answer. So I'll wait for some of those questions to come in. It looks like I have a little bit of clicking in my audio, so I'm going to go on mute.
Yeah, I can read out some of the questions, and Isabel, feel free to hop in as well. I'm going to scroll through and make sure that we get everything. Any good source for Q&A for Pride Trivia Night? That's a great question. We will do research on our end. I'm not sure what our colleagues used a couple weeks ago when there was a trivia night, but we can do a little bit of searching and get back to you.
Yes, I think we've shared a couple of platforms. I think where folks are asking a couple of Pride trivia questions. So that's something we can take back in, and if I may be bold on the call and encourage folks perhaps to join us for that brunch, and we'll share a little bit more about, you know, some potential trivia suggestions there. So yeah, that's a great question, and please keep chatting in if you do have any good sources, not just of platforms for folks to play these trivia games, but for any sources of actual answers and questions for the content as well.
I saw one question that just came in. That's a really good question. Does anyone have any ideas on how to engage those on the fence about being allies? I don't know if Isabel, Dina, if either of you want to take a stab at that.
Yeah, I'll jump in really quickly before turning it over to Dina. I think that this is one of those things that's always, you know, difficult in the sense that you can't force people to care outside of themselves in many ways. And one of the ways that we approach ally conversations, especially, you know, in training around LGBTQ cultural competency and things like that, is not to come at it from the sort of, you don't know these things, we must teach you this information, you must absorb this to sort of move along in the world, but to create a sense of personal investment. Many of you on the call who've done some of the training with us in the past, whether it's building bridges, intersectional allyship, et cetera, know that we love to talk about covering and intersectionality. And so starting the conversation, not so much with like, here's how you can be an ally to X communities. It doesn't have to be allyship just to the LGBTQ community, but getting people to understand sort of their own, and this is, you know, we are selfish creatures, right? Understanding our own lived experience and the way in which they need allies as well. We all need allyship in the workplace in different ways. So getting them to think about the way in which they show up in the workplace, the way in which they may not be bringing their whole self to work, et cetera, at least creates that first initial shift, right? If you think about the ally continuum of shifting from unawareness to starting to become aware. Not everyone's lived experience is the exact same as mine. And my lived experience, you know, affords me some unique privileges and some unique marginalizations that others might not experience. So to kind of think about how to engage people on the fence, I think at the very first step is to get them to think about their own needs and the ways in which they show up. Once folks have done that, I think that really creates a sense of empathy and opening up. And then there's this sort of curiosity and, again, openness to the idea of allyship, again, whether it's LGBTQ allyship or another form of allyship, that comes from empathy and a sense of, I need this as well, and so I can provide this allyship to others. So that would be my suggestion, is kind of getting folks to think about their lived experience first. Once they've done that, I think they can progress towards allyship with empathy.
Yeah, and the one thing I would add, I think Isabel touched on so many crucial points here, but depending on your specific role internally, if you're, for example, an employee resource group leader, I think that question is a fantastic door opener to a lunch and learn. In other words, very specifically, you know, calling for those who are would-be allies, or hey, you know, not sure if it's, you know, LGBT, BLT, but, you know, your heart's in the right place, but sort of providing that space for people who are less familiar, are not exactly even sure what it means to become a quote unquote ally. But in addition to your existing Pride programming, giving a space that calls out people for whom, you know, that this might sound a bit like alphabet soup, and they're scared that they're going to make a mistake, or they're not exactly sure all that it means to become an ally. One thing I just want to also say, we are just at about 2 minutes to the hour, and we've been keeping these to an hour. One theme that has come up in some of our partner conversations is to actually look at this virtual Pride as an opportunity to engage people that otherwise maybe wouldn't be able to participate. So while the circumstances are absolutely tragic, this pandemic is immensely difficult and tragic, the idea that we are having to focus our energy and our creativity on virtual, it may allow for the first time someone in your company who's always wanted to be a part of the company Pride festivities, but for health or for other reasons can't be outside on a float for 6 hours, can't count on moving through busy city streets. It may be something that, you know, for a lot of parents, they felt like, well, look, I've got 2 small children. I can't necessarily be out to, you know, the happy hours and the this and the that. So I would encourage us all to find that place of what actually can these virtual ideas and other ways of connecting do for us that we haven't necessarily explored, because a lot of our Pride festivities have been sort of, you know, a bit on autopilot. You know, we gather that Friday night, then we go to the parade, et cetera, et cetera. So I think in closing, wanted to remind everybody of our town hall, our Pride Month kickoff call on June the 1st, and our CEO, Erin Uritis, will be our keynote. And I would also say thank you to the Out and Equal team, and really to all of you, your comments, your energy, your wonderful questions. We are absolutely going to roll up all this beautiful knowledge, experience, and tips and send it back to you. We'll also look at some of these great suggestions in terms of LinkedIn posts and blog posts, and make sure that all this great information gets back out there. And also in closing, I would say that every time we convene like this and I see the numbers tick up, knowing that there are 150 people around the world right now planning for Pride, it really gives me a sense that we really are going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. We are going to be stronger for it. And it's not just because of the strategy and the energy that we put into our everyday inclusion work, it's really the heart that we put in it. So thank you all. It is 4 o'clock Eastern time, and so we're going to go ahead and log off and look out for a note from us tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.